Ooh, that is good. Wish you were here sitting right there across the table from me. We'd have this conversation face to face. But because you're way over there in some other part of the country or the world and in another time zone, and I'm probably doing something else, this will have to do. In another video that's actually linked right up here and down below, we talked about not calling a group of people who are working together a team if they're not a team. You know, you can't call somebody a pumpkin and they turn into a pumpkin. You can't call a group of people loosely gathered working in a similar direction a team if they're not a team. What is it then that makes a team? Remember, we talked about it has to be significant, the challenge they face. It has to, on first blush, be impossible. And it has to be resource challenged. That sets up the dynamic that it's likely when you get a group of people together, they will become a team. Well, there's something that you and I need to do to also make that happen. And let me give you a way of thinking about that and a way of talking with your folks about that. So, have you ever had somebody ask you to help them move? You got to be a really good friend if somebody says, hey, what are you doing on Saturday morning? Oh, nothing. I don't have anything planned. If you have a pickup and someone asks you, what are you doing on Saturday? You should probably tell them that you're already busy. But since you're a nice person, unlike me, you would say, hey, nothing. You need something? And they say, yeah, hey, how about if you come over for breakfast on Saturday morning? So great, your friend is a wonderful cook, so you decide to go over there for breakfast. As you pull up to the front of their house, you notice that there are 4 or 5 other pickup trucks parked out in front. Doesn't really occur to you why you've been asked to come over, but you can smell the wonderful breakfast as you come up the porch and knock and go in the house, and you notice there's a box over here and there's a box over there, and you think, oh, well, maybe they're just doing some spring cleaning. Who knows? Go back in there and you sit down and have breakfast with them. And as you're having breakfast and everyone's sitting around the table, you notice that you're being served breakfast, a really good breakfast, by the way, on paper plates. And the coffee is in paper cups. And you start to notice as the food works its way into your system and the caffeine wakes you up, that the cupboards are kind of empty as well. And there's more boxes sitting around. So as you become sort of spatially aware, you realize something's up here. So you ask the question that everyone else had on their mind, what's going on here? You all just sloppy or are you gonna move sometime? And your friend says, yeah, we're moving today. You didn't figure that out? That's why I asked you to come over and help me move? Well, now you're kind of trapped. You don't want to help somebody move, but it's like one of the worst possible things to do. But at least this person was kind enough to get all the small things put in boxes. You ever gone over to help somebody move and they haven't even started? They still have dirty laundry in the dirty laundry in the washing machine, and then the dryer is full of wet clothes, and everything is exactly like they had it a week ago, and you're supposed to help them move? No, thank you very much. Get better friends. But in this case, yeah, they've done a lot of the small work. So the boxes are full. You can see things ready to be moved. Okay, you're all right, you're there, you're going to help them move. So all of you together, 8 of you, maybe 7 of you, get up from the breakfast table and then you say, where do we begin? You rub your hands together, you're ready to go to work. Your friend has a wonderful library in the front of the house. So you all go into the library and it's time to start moving the library. And you know how to move books in a library. You get a few books and you carry them out to the box that's in the back of the pickup truck already. You don't load up big boxes full of books. That is a really hard way to move a library. You move this many at a time and every person grabs a few books and you're talking and having a great time, and they take them out and put them in boxes, empty boxes that are now in the back of the pickups, seal them up. And in no time, you are able to move this massive library that your friend has got. Kind of fun, it's enjoyable, it's not hard work at all. But you notice when you're doing that one of your friends, Biff, is standing over here, and instead of moving books, he's reading a book. He found one on the shelf and he's kind of moved by this book. He's leafing his way through the book. Maybe it's Dr. Seuss. Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Maybe that's it. And he's reading it and you can see him moving his lips because he's that kind of a reader. And you think, what's up with this guy? And so you probably don't say anything to him about not diving in and moving books. And after you've made 10 or 15 or 20 trips, you probably don't really say anything. You might say something to someone else. You might say something to your friend whose house it is, who's kind of like the supervisor of the whole event. You might say something to him, but you don't say something to Biff, the book reader. Why? Because you really don't need him in order to move the library. In fact, You don't need anybody to move the library. One person can move the entire library. You could move that entire library by yourself. So could I. It would take longer, but you don't need 10 people to move a library, especially if there's no real time constraint. So everyone just trundles off and does their own work and laughs and has a good time. But I can be successful at moving my books off of those 7 shelves, and you could move books off of 1 shelf and we'd be fine. No big deal. You don't need a team. You don't need a group of tightly coordinated people to move a library. All right, so the day goes on and you get everything moved out of the house and you're all starting to get tired, and it's 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you're starting to get a little bit hungry and everyone's ready to go and you're starting to back out of the house, and your friend comes bounding down the stairs and says, hey, there's one more thing. I need to have you help me move one more thing. And there's kind of a sliding door in the hallway, and no one really even noticed it. No one opened it, but your friend opens it, and there's some stairs that go down that a little landing there, and then they pivot and go downstairs again. You all follow this friend down into the basement. You didn't even know it was there. And sitting in the middle of this downstairs room, it's a nice room, but sitting right in the middle of this room is a baby upright piano. Now, as you know, an upright piano, even though some of them are called baby upright pianos, they're like Satan's instrument because they are the single heaviest piece of furniture anyone could put in any building anywhere. And have you ever tried to move an upright piano? They're very hard to move because they have 2 handles. They're both on the back in awkwardly placed locations. And if you try to move them that way, you're going to tip the piano. And they're very, very hard to move. All the edges are sharp and you just can't get your hands around them, and incredibly heavy. Now you all gather around that piano. You're all tired. You're all frustrated. And the owner of the house, your friend, says, look, we got to move this. This is a family heirloom. There's a massive rainstorm coming in, and it's supposed to be here any second. We need to get this up the stairs, around the corner, out of the front of the house, and in the back of that last pickup, and covered up with a tarp before that rainstorm gets here. This is a really important piece of furniture. It's a family heirloom. Let's do it. At this moment, right now, the entire group of people that was moving books turns into a different kind of group of people. It now has to work differently. It has to think differently. It has to engage differently. When you step up to grab the piano, if Biff, who was reading the Dr. Seuss book up above, just kind of steps back and doesn't help, everyone would say something to him right away. Hey, what are you doing here? Grab that corner. And if someone says, oh, my fingernail hurts, you'd say, too bad, everybody hurts. Dive in. Everybody would perform. And in fact, even though your muscles are tired, even though you're hungry, everyone would strain and work and sweat and communicate directly with one another to get that piano up the stairs, around the corner, and out and covered up before that big rainstorm hit. What happened? It's the same people who were moving books over there in the front of the house, who were really not really expecting much out of each other and not talking to Biff when he's not performing very well, and not a big deal. Those exact same people, in fact, they're more tired. That same group of people are more tired. They're maybe a little more irritable because they're starting to get hungry. That same group of people with a much more significant challenge, a bigger challenge, are going to perform at a much, much higher level because of the work. They're not moving books anymore. They're moving pianos. When we have work that is significant, this is a family heirloom. We got to do this. It's impossible. There's not enough of us to move this thing. We don't have a dolly. We got to get up those frickin' stairs and around the corner. Are you kidding me? It's impossible. And resource challenged? Wow, how are we going to pull this off? How are we going to pull it? We don't have enough time. The rain is starting to fall right now. When that is what we're faced with, and yet we all look at each other and lean in and grab the corners of that thing and start to lift that piano and take it up the stairs, our humor goes up, our communication with one another is more direct, we push ourselves further, we find another gear, we laugh about it, and in fact, years later, the thing that you're actually going to be talking about that day, is that going to have nothing to do with moving a washing machine or moving books or rolling up carpets. It's going to have everything to do with the fact that you accomplished an impossible feat. You moved a piano. So what does this have to do with teams? This illustrates for me, and hopefully for you, that teams are created by the work itself. If the work requires everyone to do it, and it requires more from me and you than I think I have to offer, and I lean in and sacrifice and stretch and stress for you and to accomplish that big purpose that it's about, that's what creates a team. Everything else is frosting. Everything else is frosting. This is why if you are asked to go to some kind of like a team building event, it might be entertaining. You might have a story to tell. It's not going to build your team. It's just going to be an event that you'll talk about. It might be fun. It might be worthwhile. It doesn't build the team. The thing that builds the team is the work. It has to be significant. It has to be meaningful work. It has to look like it's impossible at first glance. And it has to be the kind of work that we just don't have enough resources to do, but we still have to do it. It has to be like moving pianos. Cool thing about it is that once we experience moving pianos, metaphorically in your work, moving pianos, once we experience that, we never want to go back. It is an incredible experience for us. Now, one is not better than the other. Moving books is important. In fact, most of the work that you do in your enterprise and that we do in ours is moving books. It's just a bunch of people kind of pointed in a general direction, and everyone has their tasks and they kind of get their work done and they have a good time doing it, and some of it's pleasant and some of it's not. Doesn't matter. But it's good. It's great. Some of the work you do is moving pianos. That's the stuff of life. We love that. One's not better than the other. They're both very, very important, but the dynamics are incredibly different. This over here, moving books, that group we call a work group. Work groups are really individuals organized roughly into a group to get a bunch of work done. And I can get my work done and you don't get your work done and I'm still successful. And if I have a problem, I don't talk to the others in the group about it. I typically just refer it to whoever the supervisor or the leader of that group is, and then they handle it. I can show up and be wildly successful, and you show up and fail at everything you do, and I'm still fine. That's a work group. Work groups are also characterized by the fact that sometimes I do my work, and then I hand it off to you, and you do your work, and then you hand it off to someone else. The entire group is not necessarily evaluated based upon the group's output. It's really more evaluated based upon individuals. That's fine. Most of our work probably is like that. 70% maybe of your work, maybe 80% of the work in your enterprise or organization fits in that category. It's not new work, it's repetitive work. It's maintenance kind of work. But whenever you want to do something new, whenever you want to solve a problem that no one's been able to solve before, whenever you want to start something that is amazing or try to work to stop something from happening and replace it with something better, that's moving pianos. That is really fun. It's really enjoyable. We need both. Understand, not everything can be team. Not everything over here can be team. But we do desperately need to be able to have ability for people to work together around moving pianos. So what's your pianos? That's the question. Do you have any pianos you're trying to move? If so, work groups can't move them. You can't chop the piano up in little pieces and move it. Everybody has to lean in and do it. Are we trying to move pianos in our workplace? What's your piano? Think about that for a while. It's the work that makes the team. So share this video with some folks that are a part of your team and ask them, what do they think? What's the piano we're trying to move? Wouldn't it be cool if you all identified the same piano? And if a third of you said, no, it's that piano over there, and another third said it's that one, another third said, what piano? Well, then you got yourselves a problem. What is the piano you are trying to move? Get crystal clear about it. Folks are going to say, nope, and they're bail. The ones that are left are the ones that get to move the piano with you. If they react when you say, that's the piano we're trying to move, by saying, you are crazy. Maybe they're saying, you're crazy, I want in, because I'm crazy too. Or maybe they're saying, you're crazy, get away from me. Like, there's no way that can actually do it, and they want to get away. Well, the ones who want in are the members who could be part of your team. So it's pretty cool. Well, there we go. I hope this was helpful for you. 10, 15 minutes of time that give you a chance to think about, are you moving books or are you moving piano? Because, as a leader, your job is to create clarity and to create alignment. This is all about clarity. What's the piano we're trying to move? Alignment happens when you figure out where everyone stands around that piano. If you like this video, how about giving it a thumbs up? Because that kind of helps YouTube figure out whether this is worth anything to anybody else. You know how that works? And you know what else would also be helpful is if you hit that subscribe button. It's not some big thing where you get sent a bill. Just hit subscribe and then the bell that's beside the subscribe button, because then that tells you when our next one comes out. Oh, by the way, they come out every week. And you probably Monday or Tuesday, just about every single week. So I appreciate you taking a little bit of time and hanging out with me. If you were here, I'd pour you another one of these. Some wonderful scotch. This is actually scotch this time instead of bourbon. If you were here, I'd toast you. You're doing good work. Keep it up. Here's to you.